So this was the one you've just seen video, the previous one, energy, as a topic. One of the things I said towards the end about this paper charcoal relationship thing, it's very grey. You can see it's grey, as opposed to something that's, well, that's grey as well. Different colour paper, that's the main thing. But normally when I do these, they are very contrasty. I'm looking for one that is very contrasty. Let me just reach the one from the other day and just show you what I mean. There. So the density thing. Paper really at the reason for this working, and working like this. But one of the consistent things to consider for me is the width of the, the people talk about the tonal range, and you have these stripy things that have, there's a full range on those, but if you imagine that strip of tones, depending on the charcoal and the paper relationship, the range changes across that. And if you know anything about like photography, and which is where those originally those tonal band things come from, when you're matching tones and you do it with colour and all the rest of it, the width of the tonal range can be narrower or wider depending on the relationship between the paper and the charcoal. And what you've got to do when you're doing things like hair, for instance, when it requires a certain, or the face, when it requires a certain width of a certain range of tones, but you can't do it. You can't make it exactly black, and you can't make it exactly white or light grey. It's very narrow. You've got to work within that range, and sometimes it'll be, if you can, you know this yourself. If you try and make something really contrasty, you'll go and reach for a darker charcoal when you're working in graphite in order to create that tonal range. But the problem with that is that it's a massive leap to the darkest thing that you've gone and fetched the bit of charcoal or whatever it is to make that. It's the same with white. You suddenly insert white into it. It's a massive leap between the range. So it doesn't go progressively towards that white. It suddenly goes bang, it's white, or it goes suddenly dark. So recognizing the range at which you're working in is how you actually make things more effective, the form of things more effective, because you recognise the range in which you can work. So when I switch from different paper and different charcoal, I've got to adjust my range, my use of the range of tones that I've got available, and I won't know what's available until I do it. And then when I do it, then, as I said, it'll start. I'll see where the range is, and I can adjust everything accordingly. This is tonal balance. That's what it is. Right. So, as I said, that's the one I did this morning, talking about energy. And you can see it's not quite finished. There are a few things that need to be, just let me sort this out. A few things that need to be resolved, probably softened and things. The hair's just about there. It's just about me. But talking about the energy thing, if you saw me do it, I'm going to do it again in a minute. It's all about that initial energy, and as I get towards this bit, I still have to maintain that vibrance, that my excitement, if you like, the adrenaline thing. I still want to maintain that within it, otherwise it'll just become production, and all that'll happen is that I'll drive away the spontaneity of everything that which you saw. I'll drive all that away in my endeavour to make it precise and correct and all the rest of it, So it's now about balancing act, and really this is the question: have I caught the essence of this person? Is what you'd ask, and if yes, chances are whatever you fiddle with, whatever you try and rectify, it won't make any difference, because you've already caught the likeness, the life force rather. That's the general rule. But I will go on and fiddle with certain things. I think my directive, if you like, is that when things like are too dark, there's a sudden build-up of charcoal. The problem with charcoal and smooth paper is it builds up, and as it builds up, it creates these. Can you see them? there's one there, and there's one there, and there's another one there. It creates these like over dense areas. And if you're not careful, if I go over them again, I can create a kind of scarring. So those are the kind of things I would fix. I'd try and soften those things. It's actually scarred there, so the only way I'm going to get rid of that is with a rubber, if I want to get rid of it. But there'll be quite a few of those kind of things just to soften off those darker edges. Because even though it's not that far off, these things, those darker edges for me will create a slight. Sometimes you want it. Sometimes you want that kind of emphasis, if you like. You see that emphasis that's occurring there. Sometimes you want that, but other times you don't want it to shout too much. But like I say, it's more or less done, apart from messing about with those bits and bobs. But I've got not wanting to lose the energy at all in that. So yeah, I'm going to do it again. Same thing again, same bit of charcoal. I always know when this is the same piece from this morning, and I always know when it's good charcoal. Generally, it doesn't wear as quick. So I'm getting best of both worlds, really. So there were times when I'd have a piece of charcoal. In fact, those, the little pieces that I use sometimes, those are the remnants of a piece like this, obviously. But those were the bits of charcoal that would have done 3, 4, 5, 6 drawings. So I'm reluctant to get rid of them, basically. So, but it's nice to get back to it. I'm going to draw this girl, by the way. So a little different to the previous one, in that it's more graphic, I suppose. Certainly the hair is, and the sort of straight on pose. Never really like looking at the camera pose unless they've got a attitude. So, which she has. Yeah, let me get everything roughly where it wants to be, and then I can. Again, this is just all about the energy that I'm picking up from this, and that then manifests itself in the marks. Let me. I'm just about there. I think I'll be all right once I get past the neck. I've got the extremities of everything on there. I think that'll be about right. It's never the same twice with doing this way, which is a problem, I think, for a lot of people. It's never, the process thing. It's never the same twice with this. It's always down to the subject as to what how I respond to it. So I can never say, "Oh, I'm going to do this first." The only thing I would say in terms of a process would be finding the location of the things, and then doing what I'm doing now, which is looking for the shapes, and in the process of finding the shapes, rectifying the locations of things. Also, trying not to commit too hard to things as well. One of the things about this, what I'm finding with this charcoal, this paper combination, is that rectifying it is not really an easy thing. So if it's not right, if I'm committed to something and I've made too dark, the marks are too dark or dense, then trying to fix them is going to be difficult. charcoal sometimes will throw a little bit of a wobbler when it for whatever reason there'll be some kind of, you know, in the growth of the wood there'll be some kind of spurt or whatever, and it you get like it's like a bit of sand in it, you know. So I have to sandpaper it out really. I got my head in in shot. I moved the camera a little bit that way, sort of twisted it that way, so you can see how many times I look at the reference and how quickly I'm looking at the reference. Because I talk about this glancing thing, and if you're not seeing me glancing, then you don't know how often I'm doing it. It's quite frantic at times. Early on it is, and when I was doing the hair on the other one, the previous one, I was doing it then. So it's very rapid. What I was saying yesterday about the don't stare at the subject too long. It's that quick that it's like you're not watching what you're drawing. That's what it kind of feels like. You're not watching what you're drawing. You're just doing that in your peripheral vision. When I occasionally stop and I do that kind of thing that I've just done now, I'm just trying to make accurate assessments of whether or not I've all the busy energy, lines full of energy are all accurate enough. One of the things about this charcoal as well, I don't know if you can notice it, it's very it's a bit spotty, a bit dirty, you know. On the previous one, it was, I could see it being very, it's not so much granular because it's quite smooth, but it's a little bit of paper that's doing it. And that's the, get rid of some of these sticks in my bin. You know, and when I smudge it, it's not necessarily an even smudge. In fact, there is you can't really see it, and you know this sort of spot in there. It's the way the surface is interacting with the charcoal. So I'm going to get to a point where I want to be more definite. You know, that because the hair is the sort of graphic element to it. I want to create that shape. Everything relates to it. This is the hierarchy thing. You know, I've said before about what's important about something. What is it that draws you to it? The hair on this is amazing. You know, that hair. And that's what. So at some point, I'm going to have to commit to that in order to get things working on the page properly, on the face properly. So at the moment, I'm just close to where I think everything should be. I'm just looking at the size of the things in relation to, you know, everything else. So let me get that sorted out. Then I'm going to put the hair on so I can get the elements of the face a little bit more accurate. Let me get this. Yeah, so I'm going to put a little bit of the basic shape of the hair in there. I think all the the loose hair that's going to be flying around like that is going to take time and a bit more precision to do that. So I'm just going to do the basic, the block of it, and then I can add the loose hairs with a bit more detail, with a bit more care. I tell you what stands out straight away is the tonal thing, the tonal and balance thing. It this. I say just doing something like that just fixes it. It just makes it a little bit more readable, is the thing, I think. As I say, I'm not going to do all these extra hairs just yet. I just wanted to get that in something like again, I'm not going to do much with that just yet. I just want to get the things feeling right now. There's a big one there. I'm going to move the mouth alignment. Still a bit further, I think. Yeah, I think just having that bit of a indication, because it's going to come out back further that way, and then this is bigger on this side. Is the head? I don't know what's happening with the head. The shoulders are, the left shoulder's towards and the right's further back, but the head's kind of not. It's not moving. Let me just get this one right as well. Yeah, okay. So it's now getting to that point where I can slow down and do the detail of things. I just before I start doing that, before I start fixing things, I just want to make sure that everything's where it should be. Otherwise, I'll not be able to fix it. So let me just fix the neck a little bit better than that. Yeah. Like I said, with this charcoal, the and paper relationship thing, there is a kind of granular effect to it, and what I'm seeing happening is that I'm exploiting that granular feeling. It's on the previous one. You can see on here how the granularness of you see it on the face and around here as well, certainly on the hair. So because there's no hard and fast edge to it, so there tends to be a little bit of fuzziness about it, a bit more blaring about it, and the way that it makes tones, for instance, there, I'm leaning into that rather than trying to make it, it's a perfect tone. That generally happens when I change charcoal, when I change to a different batch. There's a adjustment period of. I think it's down to it's this thing of you work with the medium and what it'll do, rather than wanting to do something it can't do. I mean, it isn't one of those situations where you guarantee an outcome because it's the regular stuff you use and it's always going to be the same. There isn't any of that. You kind of think you're on your feet. That would be the game show on the telly. I watched it the other night, not the UK one, the Australian one. That would be a fantastic test, wouldn't it? You could just give people something, right? This is it. You can't draw with what you normally draw with. Draw with this. Paint with this. You imagine that? That would be what you pay to watch that, wouldn't you? I wouldn't pay to watch the game show though. I think it's terrible. Some great artists on it, and every one of them's a winner as far as I'm concerned. So I just hate. I watched the Australian one. In the lesson we were talking about this Australian version where this young woman worked in black and white. She was a teacher, and she was mortified by the occasion. Couldn't decide on what to draw or paint, and ended up giving herself just an hour to do something. It's just everything that's wrong with the show, I'm afraid. Although there was one great moment that I talk about this all the time, the essence of something. And this woman who wasn't a professional, I don't think, painted on the floor and didn't really. I don't think she had any training as such, but a portrait was absolutely breathtaking. It was just so pure and honest, and everything a portrait should be. She was not fazed by the situation at all. She was like, so what? I'm just going to do this. You know what I mean? It's just like we all want to be like that. I mean, I'm kind of like that. I don't give a damn what people think, but at the same time, that I'm burdened with inevitable technique. It's that comes from doing it so many times. But she wasn't. She wasn't at all. Although she did say she paints a lot of things, but not portraits. So she's obviously experienced this, other subjects. But yeah. But other than that, if nobody learnt from that what the message should be, then the game show is a waste of time. Winners and losers and all that's nonsense. I've said it many times. Competitions are for athletes, not artists. Yeah, but people grow in those situations, people say. Really? In what direction do they grow? The one that you perceive to be the right direction? That's the problem. In fact, my mate did it, and he said the best thing he ever did. Now he just tells everybody he's been on that show and he gets lots of customers. So, I suppose from a marketing point of view, he didn't win it. He didn't win it, didn't he? So a lot of, like he said, what happens if people win it? Imagine the business opportunities if you win it. That's, I don't think you should go into any art endeavour thinking it's a business opportunity, because it very rarely is. Very rarely. How many times and people have contacted you, and, if you do this, you can do all these as well, and promise you, jam tomorrow thing. People take advantage, don't they, of artists? Because generally, artists are good-natured and kind individuals. Some aren't, but the majority of us are, and will gladly help anybody. And often, I've said this before, when people like what I do, it's like payment. It's as good as payment. They'll like it, and that is proper conditioning that comes from your past. The need to please thing. Yeah. I'm just looking at the overall shape of the face, trying to isolate it a little bit so I can tie down some of the indicators as to the accurate depth of the face, which is why I'm darkening all the edges, because there's another shape that I'm using as a guide. See whether or not it will be the other thing about this combo is that you see how that does the build-up thing, because it doesn't release, and it'll be to do with the thing I was talking about on the other one, the build-up in places. I'm tempted to say that YouTube is behaving. It hasn't crashed yet. Hasn't decided that it. But I'm tempting fate saying that, aren't I? I mean, this morning, how many times did it do it? And lately, it has been doing it an awful lot. I did although it wasn't, it was a Zoom thing last week. Had a couple of occasions when it did that. So it wasn't YouTube that was doing that. But still, it's bandwidth things. Although, have you, for the lessons that I've done online, I've used Jitsi, which seems to be a lot more stable than Zoom and a little less faff to install it. So it could be Zoom that was causing the problems last week. Even though there's not so many curls, there's still that backwards and forwards assessment thing that goes off with, I think, any kind of hair. Or I think if you were doing detailed fabrics or something, you'd be doing that as well. I know that when I've done brocades or something on a collar, it's the same kind of backwards and forwards and not looking too long at the what you're drawing. There's a problem with the shine there. You can see that with having an overhead tube, I get a shine on it. I tell you what I was thinking about the other day. I saw somebody painting full figures in a massive studio. Fantastic studio. I mean, it's like sort of, like the still studios you dream of. One of those. there was a classroom full of people, so it was obviously a teaching environment. And this girl, this thing was, and the easels didn't move up and down. And I've seen the proper ones that move up and down, and these didn't. They were just big fixed easels. And she was painting probably A1 size, massive, a metre, probably longer, higher than a metre. But she was looking up at the head, but she was looking straight at well, it wasn't identically, at an angle, the same angle as she looked at the subject, because it was live. And I thought, well, how long? You know this, when you draw and look up, how it distorts, how the foreshortening thing happens, and you end up where you draw small heads or big heads because you're looking up at it. How long did it take her for a brain to learn to adjust things, painting upwards, so that when you looked at it straight on, everything was in proportion? How long did that take? That's an amazing skill. Hours and hours of practice. I mean, with this, because all this, I've got to work straight onto the thing. I'm looking directly in the middle of the face. My eye line is there. So there is no distortion there, no distortion there. Imagine a figure where the head is suddenly up there, and I'm having to reach up to the head to actually draw it or paint it. But this girl was doing it, and it was perfect. Absolutely incredible skill. I don't want to make things that hard. I ain't got time to. I mean, she's probably been painting 20 years at one of these academies, so I ain't got that much time left in me. So I'm not gonna. The quicker I can get to doing this and making it accurate, the better. I think if I was working, I can't stand up in the studio. It's not big enough to stand up. So if I was working on a full length like that, I'd have to have the easel moving up and down. Like in a sergeant sort of way, where he's able to always be in the, not looking up at something. No matter if it's trees or what have you, but if it's heads and figures and things, you got distortion issues straight away. So as I said, I want to make it hard. I've more or less done this. The problem you're seeing is the reflection of it. I'm not seeing the reflection so much. So I'm going to balance everything because of the reflection. I'm going to increase the size of the or the density of the things like the eyebrows there, because I want this the looking under her eyes thing. This one in particular is just a shadow. There's not really any or a lot of definition in there. There's a tiny little highlight in there, but I want that to be emphasized, because it is dark in this eye, in this socket. It emphasizes the drama of it, and so I'm going to try and get that to be a lot darker. Equally this as well, because now that I've got that on there is an imbalance. This has to be closer to that now that I've got that on there. The hair may not become darker. This is as dark as this charcoal will go, so it may not become darker than that, but it still sets at a level that I've got to achieve in terms of balancing with things. But yeah, that's where I'm at with it now. But it's just a case of, as I say, tweaking that and not losing the vibrance of it. Really, maybe a bit more of tweaking on the hair there, just to get that sort of feel about it. So it does that. You see, if I make that across there, the hair comes up like that, and then it sort of tucks in there, and then round there. So little things like that. Not that they make much difference. As I said a bit earlier, once you've got the likeness, no matter what fiddling you do after that, it's pretty much a waste of time. It's never gonna. It doesn't make that much difference. But yeah, I'm gonna increase the density of things, and I'm going to do another one in it. So let me just half an hour on this and just fix this, and I'll show you enough when I come back on again.